Hi guys, I want to take a minute to quickly talk about doing citations in your presentation. One big part of what you do in your presentation for your final presentation and the group one that you're working on is orally cite the sources that you use. That is, you have to tell us while you're presenting what the sources are when you give information from them. And I think the first thing you need to realize is doing oral citations, doing citations in a presentation is much different than doing them in a paper. This is a paper I wrote a long time ago, several years ago. But let's just scroll down here. We can find a citation. So here I just say author's name, date, and then I can give the information from that. Here's another example of that, and here's a page number. This works in a paper because if I'm interested in this source, right, this word probably means nothing to you. It means really nothing to me even now. I can go to the end of the paper here and scroll, scroll, scroll. I wrote a lot. This is grad school. You got to write like, okay, L, Lincoln, right here. It's this one or this one. I don't remember. And I can look that up and I have all the information I need right there to find the source. So in a paper, you can do these kind of minimal citations where you just give, say, a name and a year or a page number because the reader can always go to the works cited to see that. In a presentation, however, that's much different. And the reason is your audience will not have your works cited, and they will also not be able to stop and go look at it while you're talking because you're going to keep talking. So today I want to talk a little bit about what you need to do when giving a citation in a presentation. Now, when you cite information, there's essentially three things that we need. We need the name of the source. Yeah, we need a name for this. And maybe more importantly, we need some information that tells us that this is a good source. We need something that gives it credibility, that gives it authority. Now that can include, the name of a book or a journal, right? If you say something is published in a journal, that tells us right away that it's academic. If it's been published in a book, that suggests the same thing. Or you might have to tell why the source has good expertise. This is because of the person who did it. This could be because of the information that they have from that. Also, you can tell us how the information was gathered. But we need some information that tells us this is authoritative. Sometimes the name does this automatically, but sometimes you have to add something else. And then finally, the date is good for this. So keeping in mind those things that we need, a name, what makes it credible, and a date, let's look at some examples of how you can do this. So the first one I want to show you is a scholarly article in a journal. Two of the three groups I know have this. There's a good chance that a lot of you will find this when you do your practice presentation. Here we go. So this is the title. This is the title, Teaching Grammar in Context. The author is David Noonan. ELT Journal is the name of the journal. This was published in 1998. This other information we don't really need. So how do you do that? Well, you could say something like this. A 1998 article in ELT Journal states that, and then you would paraphrase information from that. We really just need the date and the name of the journal. But some other ways you could do that are, David Noonan reports in his 1998 ELT journal that, and then you could give the information, or according to a 1998 ELT journal by David Noonan, students need to, etc., etc. Do be careful with according to. A lot of times I hear people say, according to this journal article, David Noonan says, dun, 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 dun. And you can't do that. Because what that actually means is this article says that David Noonan says, which is not what you're trying to say. So if you use according to, don't use says or states or writes. According to is the reporting verb. You don't need another one. So just according to something, idea. No says or writes. Now you could do it with the title. I don't really think this is necessary for you guys, so I'm going to skip that. Here's another example, a book. I know one of the groups has a book. It's possible you will find a book as you're preparing for your individual final presentation. This book is called How to Teach Grammar. It's by Scott Thornbury. And a date I looked up and found 1999. So again, according to the 1999 book How to Teach Grammar by Scott Thornbury, teachers need to, some idea. Or the book How to Teach Grammar, 1999, by educator Scott Thornbury reports that, and again there I added the that Thornbury is a teacher, an educator, and again, that gives more authority to this. But the fact that it's a book largely does that by itself. Another way you could do that, in his 1999 book, How to Teach Grammar, Scott Thornbury states, etc., etc. Or educator Scott Thornbury reports in his 1999 book that, so here we use the name of the author, we didn't give the title, but we did say that it's a book. Again, saying that it's a book helps give it credibility in this situation. Here is a newspaper article from the New York Times. It's from 2017 by Dana Goldstein. It's called Why Kids Can't Write. Here's how you can cite that. Dana Goldstein states in a 2017 New York Times article that, and then you could give the idea. But here, the fact that it's in the New York Times is both a name and a credibility thing. So you don't necessarily need the name of the person who wrote the article. You could just say, according to a 2017 New York Times article, and then give your idea. You don't really need the name of that writer. Or another way you could say that, in 2017, the New York Times reported, and then give some facts from that. So again, the name of the author is not so important here. New York Times gives it both credibility and a name. We just need to add the date. This is an expert blog post, so this is an online source. These are going to be trickier because anyone can really post information to the internet. You need to identify what makes this person or this site authoritative. So here we have a post called How to Deal with Student Grammar Errors. There's a date. Cult of Pedagogy is the name of the website. And of course, Jennifer Gonzalez is the author. How can you cite that? Here's some examples. In her 2017 post, How to Deal with Student Grammar Errors, teacher Jennifer Gonzalez argues that, so here we gave the name of the person, we said that she was a teacher, and we gave a title to the post. I think all of those things help us establish the credibility of this post. But you can see that it takes a bit more work to cite something like this. Another way you can do that, on the blog, Cult of Pedagogy, teacher Jennifer Gonzalez, 2017, states, and then give ideas from her post. So we said that it's a blog, but then we also said that she was a teacher to help give her credibility. According to the writer and teacher Jennifer Gonzalez, 2017, teachers should always, and then you can give an idea from that. So here we're pointing out you don't necessarily need the title of the blog post if you're using the person's name as a name. And then adding that she's a writer and a teacher helps give her credibility. In a 2017 blog post, educator Jennifer Gonzalez concludes that, so some different ways that you can do that. Now, what I want you to do now, sometime today, you don't have to do it in class, you can do it after class. I want you to practice doing this. Take one of the sources that you've used, either one that you're going to find, or it could be your academic source that you already have, and give me some information from that you want to use in your presentation. That is, choose an idea that you want to paraphrase, or a statistic, or something from that article, and then record yourself on Flipgrid. There will be a link below, doing an oral citations. Don't forget to include the name of the source, either the author or the source name, what makes it authoritative, some sort of credential, and a date. And try to use according to, or states, or reports, or concludes, or argues if you want to share an opinion from your source. Let me hear one of those and I'll give you some feedback on that to make sure you're on track to do well in your presentation. Thank you. One thing I have to help you, I have this right here, and this is a little flow chart that helps you give some examples and tell you what kind of information you can use to establish the credibility. So first of all, is your source Wikipedia? Okay, don't cite Wikipedia. You can use Wikipedia to learn stuff, but it's not a place for gathering information for a presentation. Now this brings you over here. Is it a class text or video? If it is, then we should have a name that you can use to identify it. Here's an example of that. But otherwise, following this will tell you what kind of organization, and then finally give you an idea. Is it a person's name? Is it famous? Sorry, is it a book author? Is it a journal? Is it a publication? This will tell you what kind of information you can use to cite. And then I'll hopefully give you an example like this. So use this sheet as you're practicing your citations.